To begin the brow lamination, make sure that you have all of the supplies necessary. The first step is to cleanse the client's brows. You are wanting to remove any makeup or any types of oils from the skin. The next step is to lay the brow hairs back using the lash lifting adhesive. It is very important that you do not cross-contaminate and that you use different clean micro brushes. You're going to place some adhesive throughout the brows. Take your time during this part. Again, as you lay the brow hairs back, that's exactly how they're going to lift. Once you have the adhesive throughout the brows, you will use a brow mascara wand and you're going to brush the brow hairs up in a straight direction. This will help you to get any of the bigger hairs lifted up first. You will then go back through with a smaller Y comb. This will allow for you to make even more fine detail. If you're needing to add more adhesive to make sure that the brow hairs are lifted up, you can do so. Just make sure not to apply too much adhesive or else it will be much harder to apply the tint later on. Continue to brush through until you have the desired look for the brow lift. Once you have it completed on one brow, you will repeat the same on the other brow. Once you have the brow hairs lifted and laying in the direction of your desire, you will then be applying the perming solution. You will place a thin amount on the brow hairs. The skin will not burn because the brow adhesive placed earlier acts as a skin barrier. Once the brow perming solution is placed on both brows, you will take your mascara wand and you will brush through the brow hairs again. This will make sure that all of the brow hairs will be able to be permed and lifted at the same time. Once the brow hairs are laying in the direction of your choice and you have brushed back through the brow hairs with your mascara wand, you will then place plastic or you can place saran wrap over the brows to help ensure that the brow hairs are lifting and perming at the same time. Allow the perming solution to sit on the brow hairs for 10 to 12 minutes. If they have very thin brow hairs, allow it to sit for 10 minutes. If they have more thicker or coarse brow hairs, allow it to sit between 11 to 12 minutes to give it more time for processing. After the 10 to 12 minutes have passed, you will remove the saran wrap and you will gently wipe off the excess perming solution with a clean, dry Q-tip. You will want to make sure that you are wiping in the direction of the brow hairs. You will then place a new layer of the brow fixation. This is a brow neutralizer. What it's doing is it's stopping all of the chemical process of the perming solution. You will allow this to sit for 10 minutes. Once you have allowed the fixation solution to sit the full 10 minutes, you will then wipe off the excess with a dry, clean Q-tip. You will now begin to cleanse the skin. You will be removing any glue or remaining product from the skin. Once you have placed the last solution, now you can begin brow mapping. You will want to find the center of her face and mark it to make sure that the brows start from the center on both sides. You can use this string brow mapping technique to make sure that the tops of the brows and the bottom of the brows are at the same place. You can then crisscross to make sure that the arches are the exact same place on both sides. These crisscrosses and X's help you to make sure that you are symmetrical. Once you have the brow outline, you will then go back over it with a brow pencil to really define the outline. This will help you to make sure that you are tinting the brows evenly on both sides. This will also be a guide for you to trim the brow hairs or to shape them. Anything that's outside of your brow design will help make sure that you are able to trim according to your new brow design shape. You will now outline the brows. When you are shaping the brows, you want to brush the brow hairs up. Anything outside of that outline, that is what you will trim or you will pluck with tweezers. You will want to make sure that both sides are evenly trimmed. You will then take a shaver and then you will make sure to get any outside hairs. A shaver is more comfortable to the client's skin than traditional tweezers. After you are happy with your brow shaping, it is now time to apply the tint. You want to have a pasty-like consistency. Make sure to apply the tint directly on the outline. This will help to ensure a newer shape. You want to press into the skin. Make sure you define the entire brow shape with the tint. You will notice that the brow tint will start off lighter in color and over time it will start to get darker. You will now, once you have the outline, paint the tint throughout the brow hairs. This will help to ensure that all of the brow hairs receive color. You do want it placed fairly thick. Once you have the brow tint directly on the brow hairs, you will then clean up the shape with a micro brush or a Q-tip. This will help to ensure that the brow shape does not get distorted and that you have nice, clean lines. Once you have cleaned up the brow shape with a Q-tip, you will begin the process on the other side. You will allow the tint to sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Make sure to clean up any areas that you do not want on the skin, as the tint will tint the skin as well. If you happen to get the tint on an area that you did not want to, and it did tint the skin, you can take some rubbing alcohol and gently remove the tint on the skin that you do not want to have. Continue to press into the skin. Once both brows have the tint and the brow lines are cleaned up, you will allow the brow tint to sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Once the tint has sat for the 10 to 15 minutes, you will then remove it. You will get the remaining excess material off with a Q-tip or a cotton gauze, and then you will brush through. You can wipe any excess material off. If the skin is stained, you can gently take a alcohol wipe or rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip and gently remove any excess tint on the skin.